I had just been reborn, but instead of buying lottery tickets to make a fortune, I spent all my savings to turn the house into a safe haven. Then I bought a whole warehouse of rice and food. The reason I did this is because I clearly remembered that, in a few hours, the Earth would experience an unprecedented cold wave apocalypse. In one night, in my past life, I could have survived, but I was betrayed by a scumbag and a scheming woman. They not only occupied my safe haven, but also stole my space pendant, which had preservation abilities in order to reduce one survivor. They beat me to death before dying. I swore that if I were to have a next life, I would make them pay the price. Perhaps heaven heard my vow, because the next second, I was reborn 3 days before the apocalypse hit, and the space pendant was returned to me. Without hesitation, I bound the pendant to myself and entered the space. I found that time in here was frozen. The food stored in the space could also be preserved forever. So in preparation for the apocalypse, I returned the sneakers I had originally bought for the scumbag. Then, with the refund money, I went to the building materials center and customized a super strong alloy security door. Next, I used the remaining money to purchase various supplies, but even after spending all my money, there were still many supplies and medicines I couldn't buy. As I was struggling with where to get more money, the scumbag suddenly called. It turned out he wanted to buy my mother's old school district house for half price. In my past life, this house was flooded when the apocalypse arrived. Selling it to the scumbag would give me some money to buy supplies, so I took the property deed to the real estate center. Since the scumbag couldn't come up with $2 million immediately, he could only go through a loan process, but the loan would take at least half a month, which was far too late. So I decided to sell it to him for $1 million, but insisted that he pay in full on the spot. The scumbag immediately agreed, and after signing the contract, he happily turned to leave, but little did he know his joy was short-lived. After the apocalypse, the house wouldn't even be worth a bowl of rice. And with the money in hand, I went to the supermarket and cleared out all the supplies. Then I contacted a friend who studied medicine and bought dozens of boxes of medicine and stored all these supplies in the space. To prepare for the cold, I also went to a clothing store to customize 2 sets of winter clothing capable of withstanding minus 60 degrees Celsius. At this point, the scheming woman was on the first floor with the scumbag. She mentioned the strong winds outside and said she wanted to come up to my 18th floor apartment to take shelter. It turned out that she never believed the space pendant would disappear like this and wanted to take the opportunity to investigate my house. Soon, there were only 2 hours left before the apocalypse arrived, and I received a call from the collection station. It was about the winter clothes I had ordered, but due to the typhoon, the delivery could only be made once the typhoon passed. However, I knew the typhoon would blow the collection station away, so I decided to brave the wind and rain to pick up the goods. But when I got downstairs, I saw the scumbag and the scheming woman already waiting downstairs. Then, the scumbag suggested that, since the typhoon was so strong, he wanted to stay in my apartment. Thinking back to my past life, the scumbag used the same excuse to move in with me, and then stole the space pendant, so I decisively refused him, but the scumbag said not to be so. Stingy, once the weather cleared, the scheming woman would naturally leave, I coldly told them. Not only would the weather not improve, but it would get worse, eventually leading to a world with temperatures of minus 500 degrees. Everyone who heard this thought I was crazy. The typhoon was almost over. Where would an apocalypse come from? Seeing that they didn't believe me, I stopped wasting my breath and was about to go upstairs to take the elevator, when unexpectedly the typhoon outside suddenly stopped.